What's up, YouTube? This is Damon, aka the world's worst magician, and today I'll be bringing you a look at Perfect Square by JB Dumas and Michael Lam. Word. So if you're not familiar with this effect, I will leave a link down in the description to where you can check this one out. But essentially what it lets you do is hand a cube to a spectator. They scramble it, and then when they hand it back, you can magically show that your two cubes look exactly the same. So you can show that to them and show that it matches on all sides, asterisk. So what you're going to receive in the package is going to be the gimmick itself, stickers for customizing the gimmick, because you can choose the way that it looks based on your style with Cube Magic. You're also going to receive a cloth case that can hold 2 cubes, and then they give you 2 hours of instruction plus routines and ideas. I'm not going to do a demo for this one. It's kind of I don't know, it's weird. Anyways, not going to do it. So gimmick creation, you don't actually have to make the gimmick, but like I said before, you do have to use stickers to customize it so that it looks like your regular cube. And that'll take you about 10 minutes or so. It really depends on like how anal you are about getting the stickers perfect and lined up, and it also will depend on what your pattern is. So like I said, about 10 minutes and you should be okay. As far as the performance skill level, you can be a beginner. I think it'd be better off if you were a little intermediate, just due to one of the handlings when you do the solve. And I think you'll just have to be very comfortable with that. But if you are a beginner, you can do this just because technically you don't need to know how to solve a cube. So as usual, let's start with the negatives. And where do I start? I gotta say, I was very disappointed when I received this. And to the point where I almost wanted to return this to Penguin Magic. Anyways, they do not include any cubes for, it's $99 or $100, whatever it is. I think it's $99. And I just happen to have an Aurora V3 cube, and this comes from Cube 3 with Stephen Brundage. So I did have one, but you need at least 2, because as you can see, I have all these other cubes and none of them look like a regular cube, and this gimmick does look like a regular cube. So that's kind of a negative there. I mean, for 99 bucks, these cubes, they're like $5 or $6, so they could have included 2 for that. Also, while we're talking about the Sheng Shao Aurora Speed Cube, which is this one, it doesn't fit in the gimmick. So that's a huge negative for me, because the only cube that I have that looks like the gimmick doesn't fit and it doesn't work. So I contacted Penguin Magic about it, and their their suggestion was that basically I just stuff things in there to make it fit. Stuff some adhesive or something like that, and for $99 I should not have to do that at all. It should just be able to work. And they said it works with a standard cube, but the thing is, if you've ever handled a standard cube, like go to Walmart or Target right now and buy a standard cube and try to turn it. That thing is just, it's pure trash. I mean, if you're trying to do any fast solves or anything like that, a regular cube is no good, especially once you started using speed cubes. I mean, these are so much smoother, they make a lot less noise. Anyways, I'm not going to harp on that, but yeah, you shouldn't have to use a regular cube. They also teach a solve that's unrelated to the gimmick itself. So, I get that it's part of the routine, it's part of the package. Maybe that's why it's supposed to cost more, but if you got the solution by Michael Murray, it costs a lot less, and, you'd still get the same kind of effect out of that. And the gimmick also, when you're doing kind of shuffling with the gimmick, it does make a fair amount of noise. And that's just something to be aware of. If you're in noisy environments, you're outside, you're walking around or whatever, it shouldn't affect you. But if you do like sit down parlor kind of magic, then it's just something to be cognizant of. Just, make sure that you have some sort of strategy for covering up that slight noise that it makes. And also, I was just messing with my daughter, and, I was showing her kind of an effect with it, and she's 9, and I bought her magic kit, and she instantly says, "Hey Daddy, I have that trick too." And she goes and runs and buys this $30 magic kit that I got her. And sure enough, it's almost exactly the same thing. It's using dice instead of a Rubik's Cube. So that was kind of, a little bit disheartening as well, because I mean, when you think about that, I mean, it was a $30 magic kit that came with all this other stuff, and you have this like $2 effect in there, and this is very similar to that. So I will say this is higher quality. and it's a better build, and it's specific to a Rubik's Cube where that was, a dice. But I just thought it was funny that, my 9-year-old immediately says, oh, hey, I know that one. So yeah, that's kind of sad. And I also feel like they could have been upfront about what this effect is. I don't want to show you, I don't want to expose their method, but I just feel like they should have exposed the method so that you knew what you were getting into when you bought this. And then I honestly would not have bought this, because there's another effect that's about $40 more, I want to say, and you get much more in that package for the same kind of idea. So it's been a long time on negatives, and I know by now you're wondering, are there any positives to it? There are. So the instruction, it's full of just terrible jokes, and I love terrible. I mean, if you are a subscriber, if you're not, subscribe now. So if you are a subscriber, you know that I love terrible jokes. I tell them myself, but in a 2-hour long instructional video, yeah, I don't need that. They could have cut a lot of that out. The thing didn't have to be 2 hours. They definitely could have wound that down. But anyways, though the instruction is a little bit of overkill, it is thorough, and they do provide multiple angles so that you can see, from the magician's angle and from the spectators as well. So that's pretty good. And the gimmick looks, as you can see when they're next to each other, it looks exactly like a regular cube. So they did that very well. And you legitimately do not have to know how to solve. As you can see, most of my cubes, I just leave them solved and then I'll mess them up before I use them. But you don't have to know how to solve a cube. So that brings me to the next point, is the question that people have is, do you need to know? So technically, no, you don't. And I'm saying technically because the thing is, if I were to mess up this cube right now, and, I did this. If you did that and you don't know how to solve this cube and get it back to a solved position, how are you going to do the effect? So, one of the biggest things is that you have to start from a solved point, and then you can do false shovels and things like that, but you do have to know how to get this back to a solved state. So if you don't know how to do that, then you're going to run into an issue. So that's something just to be aware of, that if you don't know how to solve the cube, then you're going to have trouble getting back to the beginning. Now, there are apps and websites and things of that nature that can show you how to get back to solved. So just be aware of that if you don't know how, it would be beneficial if you learned. They also have this pretty cool thing where they stack a bunch of things, bunch of cubes, and they turn it around and it looks like Mario. And they ask you to, do that effect and come up with your own sort of portraits that you can make out of these. Now, in theory, that sounds incredible. And if you turn it around and you show people it's Mario, you're going to get this huge round of applause. But you need to have, I don't know, it's something, it may be less or more, but I honestly believe you need like 15 to 25 of these cubes, and they're $100 a piece. So I can get the regular Mario game for free on an emulator, or I could get it for like $30 on an actual Nintendo. I'm not going to pay $1,500 to $2,500 for these so that I can try to impress somebody by making a portrait of Mario. Sorry. So can you do it? Yeah. You're going to have an investment. So, take out a second mortgage on your house or whatever you got to do, and you can get enough of these to do that effect. As far as the reset on this Joker, it is pretty much instant. If you want to go to like a normal setup, you are going to have to ditch the gimmick, and it definitely cannot be handed out or seen by spectators. As far as walking around in Parlor, honestly, it's for both. Especially if you're going to do like those portrait effects and stuff like that, that would be better served in a parlor sort of environment. But it would be cool as a walk around where you can just say, hey, have you ever solved a cube before? And then you can kind of, go through a little bit of the work there. So after all that, you're wondering, is this a trash or a treasure? And I am absolutely going to have to go with trash. And I hate to say that because I know they worked hard to create this effect. But at this price point, you definitely should have gotten the cubes that you needed. And honestly, there should have been kind of more routines. Even though they have 2 hours, there's not a lot in there that you can actually do with this. A lot of it's just covering like how to do solves and stuff like that. And when I first saw it, and I should have known because I contacted Penguin Magic, I thought this was going to be a low budget version of Greg Wilson's Rubicon, because that effect is on pre-order right now and it's also $350, but it's a cube that solves itself in your hand in front of a spectator, and that is incredible. So when I saw this and I saw them doing the solve, I was like, oh, it's $100. So somebody basically, maybe did a knockoff of his idea, and you can get kind of the same effect. And Penguin Magic, their response was, kind of you can do the same things, but it's not exactly the same. So I took the plunge for you. And honestly, I do regret this purchase. I immediately regretted it when I opened the box. So yeah, this is just my personal opinion on it, but I'm going to have to go with trash, folks. And yeah, I've taken up a lot of your time. I apologize. It almost sounded like I was venting. But yeah, that's everything you need to know about Perfect Square by JB Dumas and Michael Lam. All right, see ya. Well, I hope you liked that review. And if you have any questions, magic tricks, or decks that you want to see reviewed, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. As always, I would greatly appreciate it if you would click that like button and subscribe for any future reviews. All right,